Freelancing can be a very daunting way to earn money. Maybe you're a recent graduate, maybe you're about to start freelancing, or maybe you're considering it as a career move. In this series of videos, we're going to be looking at 5 key areas of freelancing. Running yourself as a business of one, where do you find work and how do you conduct yourself on social media? How do you set your rates? What do you charge? Invoicing, how do you set them up, and what's the other key paperwork that you need? Lastly, we'll be talking about tax. So learn from my experiences, get some useful tips and tricks that you can use right away to have a much better experience as a freelancer. Welcome to my Freelance Survival series. We made it. The last video in this series on freelancing, and we're going to look at the dreaded, most difficult part. It's going to be a breeze, I promise. Tax. Okay, lots of things change. Taxes are set by governments, governments change, policies change, pandemics happen, and VAT changes in certain areas, okay? You need to look into this for you, for the year in which your tax is being paid for. In the UK, the tax year is April to April. That's not the same everywhere. So I really must insist, get the most out of this video, and I must be clear, again, it's all from my experiences and the numbers could change, but hopefully the overarching advice will be useful to everyone. So what do you need to consider? Well, depending on your tax bracket, this will change, but for most of you starting out, I would imagine that roughly 30% of what you earn needs to be put aside for tax. 35, maybe 40%. It really depends on your tax bracket. Above a certain amount that you're earning, you'll start to pay your student loan back if you've got one. There's also national insurance and income tax. You can earn a certain amount before you get taxed on it. That changes all the time. You need to go and find that out. But that doesn't mean you don't complete a tax return. You may complete tax returns just to let people know you've earned nothing. You owe no tax. You don't complete a tax return only when you owe tax. That's why it's really important that you register yourself as self-employed if you're doing any freelance work and you complete a tax return, even if you've got nothing. Obviously, if you're starting to earn nothing for a few years, consider unregistering. So you're A, not having to go through doing a tax return, and B, not wasting people's and mainly your own time. One thing I would recommend you doing is setting up a separate tax savings account, or just account where your tax goes. And what you do is on your big invoice spreadsheet, have a column calculating how much tax you'll need to pay roughly from that invoice you've received. Then put that to one side. So it's you don't touch it. It's tax. If at the end of the tax year you've spent so much in expenses, you don't owe as much tax, you could bring some back in to buy for equipment or something. But honestly, I would just leave it there as tax. Don't leave it all in one account and then get to doing your tax and suddenly see a massive figure you weren't expecting, that you could have foreseen, and then you're in real trouble because you owe money that you don't have. And that can really suck. Talk to your bank for advice. When I was freelancing full-time, I had an account set up that 30% straight off the bat, as soon as an invoice was paid in, it was just sent straight to another account, so I didn't even see it. That had to adjust depending on when I was VAT registered, if I owed a little bit more. But in the end, there was a pot accumulating ready for my tax bill. The other thing you should do is seek professional advice from accountants. There's different advice you can get from trade unions like Beck2. But an accountant can be a really useful thing, but in the end, they kind of need to pay for themselves. They look at your finances and they can advise. They pay for themselves by saving you money. And really how much they're saving you should be how much they're costing. Remember, they are a business expense after all. A good one can be your best friend and can really help you out of situations and really help you understand the industry you're in from that financial position. They're not there to try and help you break the rules or be shifty, just to make sure everything's in line so that they can take the pressure of tax off you. I'm not trying to sell having an accountant. I don't have an accountant myself right now. I do my tax by myself, but for a few years it was absolutely essential and wonderful to have. But they can be expensive. Some charge when you need them, some charge a holding fee throughout the whole year. You've got to do your research. As with everything, research is a really important part of whatever it is you do. There's also different online services as well, like QuickBooks, that can do a similar job and are worth investigating, especially for a they do a similar job. You still sometimes need to send it off to an accountant, but they can help bridge the gap. The main thing where accountants can become great is the fact that they know your sector. They know your industry, if you find one from your industry in your sector. So when I had an accountant, I had one that specialized in working with camera operators and cinematographers. That's great. They understand your industry. They understand the expenses. They understand all the rules for what it is you're doing. So that's a real useful thing to have and worth considering, perhaps further down the line, but having an awareness of it is also useful. You give them the receipts, they can decide what's correct for tax, or you do your tax return yourself and you just need to have some organizational skills when it comes to receipts. Take a picture of them, number them, put them on a spreadsheet, make sure it's clear what it is for, and make sure it's definitely for your business, and look online and find out what it is that you can actually claim against your business as well. I'm not going to go through that here because it's too vast for all the different businesses and all the different industries. But that's what you need to be doing as a freelancer, as someone getting into this industry. Do not pay tax. It is very bad. You don't want to be not paying tax. It is illegal, for one. It's very easy to pay your tax. I don't want to scare you in this way. You need to be professional about this. Paying tax is a big part of being professional, being a freelancer. If you want to buy a house as a freelancer, you need to be making a profit. You won't be making a profit if you don't pay tax, because you pay tax once you've got to a profit. So it's a good thing you're paying tax because you're in a profit situation. So it's not all bad. It's not all negative. I'm sure all of us will agree that we'd love to have more money for ourselves, but all of the services you pay for with your tax are vital to your everyday lives, even if you don't see it in the immediacy. So there are fines for not filling out tax returns. There are fines for filling them out late. There's fines for not registering as self-employed. Again, not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to make sure you realize that this is a serious part of being a freelancer. It's the reason why I left it to the last video. It's probably the least fun, but it is something you need to acknowledge, something you need to get into and make sure you're doing properly. But don't fear, it is really easy to pay tax. Well, it has to be, because governments around the world want you to pay tax. Just make sure you're saving a percentage that is correct for the amount that you're going to estimate you're going to owe. In the UK, HMRC actually have a tax estimator within your profile. In the UK, if it's still the same as when I did it, you need to register as self-employed within 90 days of your first paid job. So make sure you're doing that as soon as you're getting paid. Get yourself registered. And in the UK, you pay your tax in January using an online form. You will be asked to do it from the year end in April. You have until January to do it. I advise doing it earlier. Don't have to wait till January, but most people do. So remember that your expenses are tax relief. Okay, they're a business expense. That's why it's important to keep all those receipts. And you will claim against those when you're filing your tax return. Okay, it's a big part of it, putting in your business expenses when it's calculating how much you owe. Equipment, which are a large cost, are a vital thing to make sure you're treating as an expense. Okay, this includes leases and rentals. If you're the one paying for them, they're a business expense. That could be renting a car for a job to go and drive somewhere. That's a business expense. You should keep all your receipts, tax returns, everything, some form of digital copy of it for 7 years at least. Digitally, you probably want to keep it for the whole time, but you should be keeping everything for at least 7 years. So get yourself a good system for storing all of this. I'm not going to go into VAT too much because it differs so much and it changes, but you may become VAT registered because two reasons. You may earn a certain amount, so you have to become VAT registered. Well done. But in my case, it was something that I was advised to do because of the type of work I was doing, which was mainly corporate and commercial, which is where it's great. All those companies will be VAT registered. And also I could then claim back the VAT on all the camera and lighting equipment I'd bought. And then anything I bought from that point, I could claim the VAT back on that because I was VAT registered, which made a heck of a lot more sense for my business of one at the time. But it really damaged my ability to shoot paid, small, low-budget films because they weren't VAT registered. So I would have to take the VAT hit myself. So those are the things you need to consider. If you're doing that kind of arty stuff like indie films, low-budget stuff, VAT register is not great. If all your clients are corporate commercial companies, you're probably all in the same boat, so it makes sense and can be really useful, especially if you're buying a heck of a lot of equipment. 20% is a lot of money. That concludes my little talk into tax. some of it's vague, but really it's the principles that I want you to understand in this kind of little crash course into freelancing. And this video also concludes the series on freelancing. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been really useful to you. I hope you look at all 5 videos together and get a real good sense of what it is to be a freelancer. And I hope all of them are going to help you go forward and have a better, more enjoyable career in what is a really exciting way to earn money. Remember, you're in a lot of control when you're a freelancer, and a lot of people around you in the exact same boat. Find a network, talk to each other, exchange ideas, help each other out, recommend each other for work. That's how you survive as a freelancer. I wish you all the best in this exciting journey of becoming a freelancer. I really hope you subscribe to my channel for more content. There'll be more content looking in depth into freelancing in the future, I am sure. There's going to be more content on lighting, on cinematography, on films. I'm going to be doing a series very soon looking into the cinematography of the feature film How You Look at Me, which is available on Amazon Prime right now, which I shot a few years ago as the cinematographer. But please subscribe, please like the video, and most importantly, engage in the comments. Did I get something wrong? Did I get something that you don't agree with? Has this been useful? Have you learnt something? Tell me if some of the numbers have changed now. Things are changing so quickly, so I've got to repeat my disclaimer constantly that this is all based on my experiences and the numbers change. Things could be wrong, but the principles should be the same. I hope you really enjoyed this series. I've really enjoyed producing it, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.